Hi, Amit. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Kanerika, for bringing. I would like to say, if you are evaluating like AI agents for your organization.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, The Digital Shift by Kanerika. I'm your host, Kanishka Goyal. So, if you have been on social media lately, you have probably seen OpenClaw everywhere. It's the AI agent framework everyone is talking about. Demos are built, companies are experimenting, the hype is real. But here's the real question: is it enterprise production ready? Can it handle the scale, complexity, security that large organizations need? And to answer that, today we have brought in Amit Jena. Amit is our development manager for AI at Kanerika, and he has also helped shaping our AI team into what it is today. So let's cut to the hike. Hi, Amit. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Kanerika, for the invite, and welcome everyone to this podcast.
So, Amit, OpenClaw is trending everywhere right now. Can you first briefly explain our listeners what OpenClaw actually is?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's buzzing around the world very frequently nowadays. So imagine you're building a robot that doesn't just answer your queries, but actually does things, right? It reads your emails, lookups to your data, make decision on behalf of you. And not just that, it also takes autonomous actions as well. That's what an AI agent now is in terms of OpenClaw as well. Now, building one of these from scratch is a very complex activity. Like it's like building a car engine, a wheel, a gearbox. So OpenClaw is essentially a toolkit that gives you the pre-built parts, the wheels, the gearboxes, the wirings, so you can easily assemble your agents faster, right? It's an open source framework that helps developers connect a large language model like GPT, Claude, or Olama, the local models, to external tool bases, databases, and workflows. It handles a lot of repetitive works, so developer can focus on logic specific to their use cases. That is the promise and the prototyping. It geniusly delivers on it. So that's what OpenClaw in the market right now is.
So, as an expert who has been building AI agents for a while now, so how do you think OpenClaw compares to other frameworks or approaches you have seen in this space?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I would say OpenClaw sits in a really interesting spot. So compared to older workframes, it has a lower barrier to entry. You can get something running around quickly and super fast. The community around it is very active. The documentations has improved significantly. There is a growing libraries of integration that is happening day in, day out. What excites me about is how quickly it democratizes agent building. A developer with moderate experience can spin up a working AI agents in a few days or few hours. That used to take us like couple of weeks, even some of the scenarios, couple of months to develop it. But that is where the experience kicks in. Speed to demo is not as speed to productions, right? The framework makes certain assumptions about your data, your infrastructure, your security postures. Those assumptions work good in a sandbox environment. They start to crack when you introduce real enterprise complexity or the edge cases the model has not seen previously.
But we are seeing companies jumping to OpenClaw very quickly, right? POCs are being built, demos are pretty impressive, but then they hit a wall. So, what's happening there?
This is a very common phenomenon across the industries and across different geographies as well. This is probably, I would say, a team excites and builds a demo in 2 weeks. It's clean, it's smooth, everyone is impressed in the boardroom. Then they try to move it to the productions and everything starts breaking. Why? Because the demos are built with a perfect data set and in a very controlled environment. You control the input, you avoid the edge cases, you hardcore few things here and there. Production doesn't get that kind of luxury, right? And this is the real world. You have incomplete data, conflicting data sets, legacy systems that don't communicate that well, workflows that have exceptions your agent have never seen it before, right? You have compliance requirement that you cannot let the AI to make certain decisions anonymously, right? OpenClaw doesn't fail because it's a bad framework. It hits a wall because it has never seen the level of complexity. Having said that, it's not a criticism, it's just being honest about what tools was used to build it for.
So yeah, exactly like I mentioned that OpenClaw actually breaks in a complex environment. So can we like dig deeper into that, especially for big enterprises that are dealing with large scale data, maybe thousands of transactions or real time processing. So how do OpenClaw behave in such environment?
Uh, let's try to put a picture into it. Imagine you are a service based company in a fintech, right? And you are processing, let's say, 50,000 insurance claims per day, and you are taking decisions on them. Claims involving pulling data from different systems, running it through a framework of checks in place, putting into the right team, and everything has to happen under 5 seconds. When the stress test in an open flow based scenario like this, the framework started having latency around 55,000 concurrence request mark, not because the AI model was slow, it's because the framework orchestrations layer wasn't designed for that kind of parallelism or that kind of load. You also run into memory management issues when you are holding long conversation context with thousands of simulation agents. These aren't bugs you can patch overnight. They are architectural constraints. Custom built agents are designed with horizontal scaling from day one, distributed queues, async processing, proper load balancing, handle these far more gracefully. Scaling is a design decision, not an afterthought.
So coming to our next question, like you have mentioned scalability, it's one thing, but beyond just scalability, enterprise data is bit messy. It is spread everywhere, be it SAP or legacy system. So how do OpenClaw handle such type of complexity? What do you say?
Okay. This I'll give you an example. This is where the gap really shows. Okay. OpenClaw has grown a set of pre-built connectors like common tools like Slack, Google, and even some databases as well, right? But the moment you say we are connecting it to complex systems like SAP or HANA, or some clients say we have 20-year-old proprietary ERP systems, you are essentially on your own kind of scenario, right? You end up writing custom middleware to bridge the gaps. That's fine, but here is the problem. The middleware now lives the outside of the framework of the design pattern, right? Which means you lose a lot of benefits you are hoping to get. The data transformation is underestimated massively. Getting the data from legacy systems into a format the agent can understand and back out in a format the legacy system accepts. This is something like 60 to the 70% of the project work. Framework like OpenClaw doesn't solve it automatically. They assume the data is clean and accessible.
Yeah, and when Kanerika builds a custom AI agents, what does that process look like compared to someone using a framework?
We start with a very simple technique like start with the business problem, not the tech. We spend the first phase in understanding what decision does this agent needs to make, right? What data does it need? What does wrong looks like, and what are the consequences, or what compliance requirement exist? Only after we have mapped all that do we start designing the architectures, and we design for the production from day one. Security, observability, fallback logics, human in the loop for high risk decisions. With framework first approach, the process is often reversed. You pick the tool and then squeeze your business requirement into the pattern. That inversions in subtle, but it creates enumeration frictions later.
So basically, we are taking a business problem approach. We first take into business problem.
First, we look at the business problem, try to understand what the client is actually looking into it, what is the complexity level they're looking into it. We try to understand if we're making it autonomous, is it high impact? If it is high impact, generally we advise a human in the loop to give the final go ahead, because a system, AI system is responsible, but accountability falls into the person who is actually deploying it.
So, Amit, can you also walk us through a real time use case, like what the business problem was, what agent needed to do, what's the result look like, so that our listeners can also get, a practical overview of what we were discussing?
Sure. One of our client is, I can say, it a mid-sized logistics company. Their problem, they were spending hours every week manually matching purchase order to invoice across three different systems, right? The mismatches was causing payment delays and vendor disputes. We built the customer agents that monitors incoming invoices in real time, pulls the corresponding PO from the ERP, checks for discrepancies, quantities, pricing, or vendor codes, and either auto approves the match or flags it with an explanations for human reviewing, right? The agent had to handle 11 different invoice formats, connect to legacy system with no proper API, respect stricter financial auditor requirements. A generic framework approach would have taken months just to handle the integrations. Our custom approach had made them in production in 8 weeks of time, and they have reduced their processing time by around 73%. More important, the agent does exactly what their compliance team needs, nothing more, nothing less.
So, can we also talk about cost here? Like everyone sees open source or affordable framework and assumes it's cheaper. What do you say? Is it actually cheaper than building a custom AI agent?
This is where the maths get really interesting, right? If we look at it, create developing a OpenClaw tool, of course, there is going to be a certain amount of cost for the developers, certain amount of cost for the initial ramp up phase, right? You might not have considered certain of the edge case scenarios, right? So those kind of scenarios makes the initial costing little bit higher. But over a period of time, the advantage is that because this is an open source platform, there is no licensing fees available, right? And you deploy it in your own environment, you have the total control of the IP and the structure you have designed. So it evolves along with your business, and over a very short period of time, you start realizing the ROI you have actually cost.
Yeah, you have perfectly pointed out that enterprises eventually realize what's the actual ROI. But let's say it happens in a real use case. An organization chose OpenClaw initially and then later realized that it's not enough or the cost is too much. Then how would you say that how painful is it to then migrate from a framework to a custom solution?
Um, Here is the issue. So over a time, your business logics gets embedded into the workflow pattern, right? Your workflows are written in a framework's language. Your team has learned to think that the work frame is the model. When you decided to move, you are not just swapping out the codes. You essentially rewriting your application from the scratch while keeping it live. So, having said that, even after 6 months, you are saying you are not getting the results. The only thing you should be looking at it, what are the use cases that you actually left it out? So instead of paying twice to fix it later, we should look at it at doing the first thing at the right, first time right approach.
I think, yeah, we have covered most of the things. But coming to our last question, I just want to ask if any CTO or engineering leader is evaluating whether to choose a open claw framework or, building a custom solution, what would you suggest they ask themselves first?
I'd like to give them four questions. First, what is my team's actual AI infrastructure expertise? It's not just about Python, but distributed system, model architecture, observabilities at scale, right? Do I have that or not? Second is, what is the 3 years visions of this agent? Why should I say 3 years? Generally, that's the ROI period we look at it. It is a simple use case that won't grow, right? A simple framework might be fine. If this is going to the core how your business operates, build that for the future now. Third, what is my compliance and security requirement? It is regulated industries like finance, healthcare, legal. You need control of your how the data flows. Framework makes that control harder, not easier, right? You get certain edge cases that needs to be taken care inside while building the framework itself only. And the fourth and the final thing I would say, what is my tolerance for technical debt, right? Frameworks move fast. OpenClaw today is different from how it was 6 months back than it is going to be 6 months from now, right? Every day new update is coming, so there is a potential challenges comes in. Can the team cope up with that on top of delivering the business values, right? Most enterprise are better served by focusing on their core business and partnering with a team who lives and breathe AI infrastructures.
So, Amit, thank you so much for joining us. It has been really insightful. And the main point is frameworks like OpenClaw has their space, but enterprise production requirement is a completely different game, right? So, if you also want to add something to it before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, I would like to say if you are evaluating like AI agents for your organizations, especially around scale, security, and complex integrations, reach out to us. We have been building AI agents across different industries, so we can help you in figuring it out what makes sense for you.
Perfect. So, thanks again for being here. It has been a really great time talking to you. So, thank you to our listeners for listening to our podcast. See you next time.
Thank you.